Thank you for taking the time to join us today. I am so very, very excited about this game. And I was a big, huge fan of the Galaxy on Fire games as well, which were
Cool.
absolutely
Thanks.
fantastic. Chat already knows what the deal is a little bit. But if you would just briefly recap for those people just joining what Everspace is and
Okay.
what you hope to accomplish with this project.
Sure thing. Yeah, hi there. I'm Michael from Rockfish Games, and Everspace is a single-player roguelike space shooter, and with a non-linear story on top of that. And yeah, we just hit green light 2 weeks ago. We had astounding 15,000 people saying yes, we want to have that game on Steam. 86% rate of positive votes, and that's fantastic. And now we are live on Kickstarter. Actually, we launched a week ago. And with the tremendous support from our backers, we passed the 60% funding goal rate already, and 1,000 comments, and it's going fantastic. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, current amount right now is $155,665
Yeah.
and you have over 3,000 backers. That is absolutely incredible. And you're only a few days into this as well.
Yeah, true. Still about 27 days to go.
It's just we were playing the video beforehand, and
okay, sorry.
it was so interesting to see a roguelike space sim because this is something that really hasn't been done like this before. There have been games like Faster Than Light, of course, and Into the Stars, which have tried to go a little bit that route, but they all have sort of the same progression to it. You're imagining something very, very different, especially when it comes to the way that the story reinvents itself and changes every time you go through. Since FTL, for example, has randomly generated maps, but they don't have a changing story. It's the same premise every time. So you have multiple missions and everything in here as well.
True.
So are there any challenges that come with creating a narrative that constantly evolves like this?
Yeah, of course, because I mean, usually you have a linear story, right? So there's a cutscene, then you do have your objectives in a level, you complete the level, next cutscene. So the most stories progress in a game like that. With Everspace, we had to take a different approach because in a roguelike, you start from scratch after you die. So you don't, per se, you don't have a linear progression here. So we had to come up with something that how we can unfold the story in a nonlinear. And every time you die, a piece of the story gets involved, and you learn about what is this background story, what is happening. And actually, we throw you into the action without telling who you are. What you need to do, you just get a destination. That's it. And then you find out about yourself and what's going on. And also every time you kill a boss, then you find some story bits, and this is how the story unfolds.
So how long do you predict it will take the average player to start piecing the story together? And with a game like this, you never really beat the game, but to fully understand the story.
Yeah, actually, to a certain degree, you can beat the game. We do have an event at the end of this. So there's a major event, and it takes about 20 hours to find certain things in the galaxy. And if you found all of those, that, how to say, contributes to, this major event. And then you kind of beat the game to a certain extent. I don't want to spoil too much at this point here. So it's not like you play endlessly. Of course, you can do that as it is a roguelike, but the story has an ending. So and everything works towards this ending.
So your ship and all of your abilities and your resources at your disposal will increase every time you die. Do you imagine it'll be possible at all to complete the game on the first playthrough, or is it going to be challenging?
Well, if you're lucky, if you're really good, you make it to the destination once, but you have to get to the destination several times. So there's no chance you beat the game within, let's say, 20 minutes or so.
Sure.
So you need several attempts to get there. And as you have to collect certain things, and that won't happen in one run, you will definitely play it a couple times before you achieve that.
So in the video and some of the descriptions that you have on the website, you show that it's not just going to be fighting along your journey either. There's going to be a degree of resource collection and mining as well. What else can pilots do while they're making their way through your game?
Well, I mean, of course, you explore the universe. So you can decide if you go into a combat or if you go for resources, because to make it to the next sector, you have to jump there via or with your hyperdrive, and
Hmm.
to charge that, you need fuel. So you will have yeah, constantly you have to decide what to do in terms of avoiding a combat, going for resources, maybe helping somebody out if there's a side mission. And with those characters, it is if you don't take the side character or the side mission, then you don't know when or if you're going to meet him or her again. So, you know, in most games, there's somebody who gives you a quest, and if you don't take it and you come back later, you can still take it. And with Everspace, it will be different, because you constantly have to balance, do I follow the sideline or I rather follow the main objective? So that gives the variety even in the story here.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. Do you have any force pressing the players forward, or can players linger and do all these side missions as much as they want to and explore and take their time?
Yeah, there will be pressure that you move on. So if you stick around too long in a certain area in the game, you will have a very hard time. Let's put it this way.
Okay. Um, this was built um, on the Unreal Engine, Unreal 4, and it looks beautiful.
Thank you.
Was there what influenced the decision to go with Unreal?
Um, well, actually, we did a job for a top tier publisher last year, and they brought Unreal to the table, and we had the possibility to work with Unreal for about 9 months,
Hmm.
and the team just loves it. The tech is great, and yeah, so we found about the great possibilities. I would say the unlimited possibilities you have in Unreal. So for us, it was yeah, a no-brainer to continue working with Unreal 4. We looked into in Unity in our private how to say in our previous studio, and well, obviously, it's not fair to compare that, because that was like 3 years ago. So probably Unity is a different point right now.
Hmm.
But we're so happy with Unreal, and it's I just keep saying that our guys pull off things in Unreal that takes them just a couple of days, and it would have taken us weeks, if not months, with our own tech that we had at our previous studio.
That's good. And as a Kickstarter, I imagine it's even more important to manage your resources effectively, make sure that people are
Yeah.
being able to work
Yeah.
efficiently on these projects.
Hmm.
Um, well, I mean, I've said we got one of your gifts up on the screen right now of some of the
Yeah.
combat, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. The lighting effects, the environments, it has a beautiful aesthetic to the game.
Yeah. Thank
Um,
you.
the ship itself, you right now at the base Kickstarter level, and
Hmm.
there are two more that can be unlocked, but right now there's one player ship that
Yeah.
can be customized basically to fit your mission, your needs, and your preferences as you fly. And we saw some of that in the video, where as people switched out different components, the appearance of their ship would change.
Hmm.
How many? What kind of directions can you go with when you're switching out these materials, and how can you outfit your ship towards these different goals?
Yeah, yeah, that's something that we haven't shared yet. And so we actually have different sets of equipment, or you could say gear.
Hmm.
So you can decide if you equip your ship for fighter heavy or fighter missions. Obviously, combat is a priority. Or you say, well, in this run, I wanna go for mining, and that's specialized here. Or you go as special ops, so with a cloak and long range weapons. So you can, every time you start a new run, you can configure your ship to your preferred playstyle, so to speak. And those gears will also come with different grades. So if you find perks, you will have you could call it a buff, for instance, on like either fighter, mining, or special ops.
Hmm.
So let's say you find a perk that helps you in special ops. So next time you might try out equipping your ship for special ops specialties. Special ops specialties. Yeah, and that gives you a variety. We only have one ship at this point in time, but by those gears, we add more variety in gameplay.
Well, and it looks like, and I'm very hopeful this will be the case, but you guys are going to surpass the tiers. People go down to the bottom of the Kickstarter page. That will unlock two more ships as
Yes.
well as the
Yeah.
hardcore game mode. Now, what is that hardcore mode?
The hardcore. Yeah, we got a lot of feedback from some of the hardcore fans, and they said, "Hold on, it's really hot here. I got a drink with again." Mm. We got 90 degrees Fahrenheit today in Hamburg,
Oh
so
wow.
very hot. So the hardcore fans, they said, well, you're doing a roguelike with some long-term progression, so that's not a pure roguelike, and we
Mhm.
want to have something that's really, I would call it classic roguelike. So with permadeath, very unforgiving. So really for all the masochists out there, we have a hardcore version that it's really like if you die, you lose everything. You will lose all your blueprints, you will lose your upgrades. It's just you start from scratch. And that's going to be the hardcore mode. Still, we have to balance it that you can beat the game, obviously,
Mhm.
but it will be play in a completely different way compared to the regular roguelike that we have. We wanted to make it a little bit more forgiving so that more people have access to that genre.
So you might start with one of the three ships, whichever one you choose, but you'll be limited because you won't be able to change your outfitting at the very beginning.
Yeah,
Is that right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that there's a lot of people who I imagine will be very very excited for that one. I like to throw myself against the wall like that occasionally, but it hurts. Those games
Oh
hurt.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I like to share something here about this roguelike. I have to
Oh sure.
say, personally, I was really at least on the fence. So some of our team members, they were super crazy about roguelikes. They loved it a lot. And they said, we got to do a roguelike combined with these great visuals that everybody knows us for, or at
Mhm.
least our Galaxy and Fire fans. And I was like, really, all that dying? And you know what? I wouldn't be so much into this. And I was really concerned that our fan base might not like that. But then I played Shadow of Mordor, and I died a lot. I'm really not good at that game. And after you die, you get your XP points, and then you can level up in your skill tree. And then I was so much better in like killing some orcs. And I was like, this could how roguelike works in Everspace. And I really liked that. And then they had me on board. And now everybody in the team loves it. And in combination with the story, so you have also your progression within the story. I really think we have something new here. And our biggest hope is that people come back when they play Everspace and said, well, I had a completely different experience than my friend had, for instance, if they talk to each other. So, and every time they play, it plays in a different way. So that is what we try to achieve.
I think so absolutely. There's a lot of space games coming out um, who have gone for the hardcore simulation, very very vast scope, and that can take a while to get into, and
Yeah.
it's hard to have a complete session in a shorter amount of time with those games. And this is exactly, I think you're right. This is exactly what's missing in the market right now. Is a game like this
Hmm.
where
Yeah.
you can pick up and you can play it, and you can have a very very rich experience, and then come back to it at a different time, and it'll be completely different for you.
Hmm.
Um, Now there is also on the stretch goals we have Mac and OXS support for Mac and Linux, sorry,
Hmm.
at 250, yeah, 275,000. Additional languages and more devices and consumables. The
Yeah.
devices and consumables, obviously not mobile devices and things like that. Even though
No, no,
we did the Galaxy on
yeah,
Fire games,
yeah,
but the Galaxy, I'm sorry, the devices and consumables that you can craft in the
yeah,
game. Is that right?
yeah. Exactly. Those are devices for your ship, actually. Like more shields, different cloaking devices. I don't. It could be anything. It could be storage suppressor. Yeah, we have lots of ideas, but we wanted to make the scope of the game of Everspace not too big, so we don't have such a high initial funding goal. And
Mm-hmm.
if things go well, then we can add that. And if you don't unlock those stretch goals, or not we, but the community unlocks those stretch goals, we still can have those in like DLCs later on. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So how does the crafting system work in this game?
Well, the crafting system is there are certain things that you can upgrade on the fly. So let's say you have a laser and you just want to upgrade it to the next level, then simply more energy. That is something you can do on the fly. Whereas the major upgrades, for instance, you install a new engine, that is something you can only do if you die and you start with a new ship, because that doesn't make so much sense. All of a sudden in space, boom, you have a much bigger engine, right? So
Mhm.
upgrading a particular engine, that's okay. That's something you can do while you're on the run. Those major updates, like a completely new engine, a new set of wings, for instance,
Yeah.
those things you only can do if you die and you start from scratch.
You mentioned that will take blueprints that you acquire to build those things and craft those items. How do you gain those blueprints?
You find those while you're playing. So you can find those maybe in shipwrecks hidden. So we will have here and there are things to discover. Maybe you shoot down a pirate, you loot a blueprint from him. So that will be randomly you can find those things in the level. And sometimes there will be characters that give you certain tasks, and as a reward, you get something. So it's let's say there's a side quest, and the character says, "Well, protect me while I'm on a trip or something." And after you accomplish that, then as a reward, you get a special blueprint, some rewards.
I'm looking at the in-game map right now,
Okay.
and it's showing different systems, and it's
Mhm.
also showing some anomalies in there. What would those anomalies be?
Yeah. Anomalies are things that we throw in to make you curious, to seduce you, to not follow the plot at the course that has been plotted. So every time you die, there's a certain course that's plotted to your destination, and we throw in anomalies that might have something that's super cool, interesting, but you don't know. So this is more for the players who like to explore. The guys who would like to, I rather go straight for the final destination. Then
Mhm.
they just said, well, I passed that. I'm not interested in this anomaly. But you might find something super cool in those anomalies, and yeah, go there, explore them. But it's a risk, certainly. Maybe there's something super nasty in this anomaly, and you just die there. You don't know.
And there are wormholes as well in this map that I spotted. Would that
Yeah.
take you between two different points in space?
Well, wormholes are, if you run out of fuel, you cannot jump because your hyperdrive has to be loaded
Mhm.
to do those jumps. But if there's a wormhole, you can fly there. The downside with a wormhole is you don't know where you end up. So it could be that this wormhole takes you to a pirate hideout, and you jump from the pan into the fire.
So there is a resource management part of this game where you have to manage your fuel, and is there ammunition as well for some of the weapons that you need?
Yeah, so we have an energy core, and the energy is limited in your spaceship. So things, recharge rate of certain weapons or the recharge of your shield, those are things that you have to balance depending on what kind of situation you are. So maybe if you're expecting a lot of if there's an ambush, for instance, and you realize your weapons are not strong enough, then you put all your energy to the shield, for instance.
Hmm.
Or if you say, well, it's the other way around, you have super strong weapons, there is some easy prey out there, then you just lower the shields, all energy or most of the energy distribution goes through your weapons, and you have an easy shot.
That's awesome. So through managing all these different things, and from finding these blueprints and going to anomalies and finding new items, rarer items, and progressing, you can actually finish the game or come towards the end of your playthrough with a much stronger ship than what you started out with. So even for those hardcore players who start off with just the basic starter ship, they can end up
Mhm.
becoming a lot stronger
Yeah,
if they play right.
yeah, of course. If you play right, if you find the right things, the right blueprints, so it is not something. Let's say we don't have a mechanism where you just grind forever to
Yeah.
be so much better. You really have to play. Um, I would say in a clever way, do the right decisions, and yeah, certainly be a bit lucky, right? That's about a
Yeah.
roguelike. You don't. So in a roguelike, actually, you don't know what you get. It's every time you start from scratch, we roll the dice, and obviously we will keep this in certain boundaries, so we make it playable. But you don't know when and where you find certain things.
Mhm. Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun, and I imagine that it'll be very exciting when you get one of those rare, maybe more powerful items that you maybe didn't get the last playthrough, and
Yeah,
get to complete the game that way.
yeah,
On the ship
exactly.
customization, we talked a little bit about the ships, their appearance changing depending on what modules you put on them, different types of wings, different types of engines.
Yeah,
But
that's
there's
that's
also
by the way, that's Uwe in the back, our
is
creative director, is taking his
oh.
bike. He's on his way home. Bye, Uwe.
So So there's paint scheme customization as well. How customizable will these ships be for players?
Well, the ship that you have many nodes where you can customize the ship. So I mentioned the engine, the energy core, the weapons, armor, shields, sensors, cloaking device. Of course, the list is not endless, but you can really sink into this upgrade, your teeth into this upgrade tree. And the reason why we did that is in Galaxy and Fire, we learned we had like 40 or 50 ships, and only 4 or 5 were the ships that people played. And to a certain degree, it was a waste of resources into this.
Hmm.
So with Everspace, we thought, okay, we just have one ship for starters, and we have the progression within the ship. So imagine all the things that you find with different ships, or many of those things you can attach or upgrade your ship with.
And so, will you get to put any emblems on your ship, or put the
So,
name of your ship on the side, or or
ah,
anything like
okay,
that?
sorry. Oh, okay, I didn't get that. Okay,
Oh
customization
no,
is.
no, I'm just continuing on the question. That's okay.
Okay. So yeah, customization is something that we have as a stretch goal. So
Hmm.
you could put name decals and so on, and maybe little things like 3D, or even how to say, work on the mesh that the appearance of the ship changes to a certain degree. So the main modules of the ship, those will stay there, but you might be able to add a few details here and there. So that's what we have in mind for customization. It's still those things. If we get closer to our stretch goals, we add more detailed information on those stretch goals. Right now, it's really we want to focus on getting the funding goal, and we will also get back to the community about the prioritizing the stretch goals, because right now that's a guess that we have from the
Hmm.
feedback we got through Greenlight. But obviously at Kickstarter we get more feedback, and we collect that. And early next week we will sit together and then see if we come with like a different suggestion for the stretch goals if that's needed.
I think that's a great way to handle it. And I think the communities always get really really excited about customization.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody wants to live out their inner Firefly dreams.
Okay.
So in the Kickstarter, there is a section called "Damage is not just damage." And in
Hmm.
the video that you posted, and in one of these gifs that's on the page, it shows the armor being eaten away, presumably
Yeah.
as the ship becomes more damaged. How does damage affect the ship?
Um, we have different systems, so there will be damage to your armor, to the hull, to the weapons, to the energy core, to your engines, and depending what's
Hmm.
damaged, and also the level of damage has an impact. So there may be like your engines are damaged 50%, and you just go 50% speed. Um, and you have to decide what are you repairing. So what's most important to you? Are the shields more important than the weapons? Are you just more on a runaway? Then most likely you will invest into your engines that you keep your top speed. And we haven't fully decided on that, but we're thinking of if you are hit from behind, for instance, it's more likely that your engines will be damaged. And for instance, if you take a hit from the side, then your weapons will be the first devices that don't work anymore. Yeah, so it has an impact what from where you suffer. And this will have an impact on your playstyle. So when you know you already got hit quite a lot from the back, then most likely you will try to avoid more hits from behind.
So how do you repair this damage, or is there a way to repair this damage as you sustain it?
Yeah, you have resources on board, and you obviously you go for resources, and you will also have nanobots, and those are a resource that you use, and with those you can repair your systems, and every system has different resources that you need. So it's not like you have one general resource and you can repair anything with it. So still there's a strategic component to what's damaged, and do you have the right resources at hand? And if not, then you have to find out if there's a space station nearby or a planet where you can find those resources.
The I'm looking at one of the screenshots right now that shows a bit about gathering those resources with the mining, and it's
Hmm.
showing this beautiful landscape with all these large rock fragments floating in space, and it looks absolutely incredible. Um, and I want to know on the audio side, it's a one of the Kickstarter sections is eye and ear candy.
Yeah.
So what is your approach going to be for sound design in the game? Are you going to go for very bleak and space like, or are you going to try to go for that sort of J.J. Abrams just rich sci-fi sound, or
Yeah.
what are you thinking with?
Well, we know there's no sound in space.
Mhm.
We get that quite a lot, but we just think it's just cool. It adds to the experience,
Yeah.
and we also know that space doesn't look like as we have it in here.
Mhm.
So in Everspace, we really wanted to have something that's very vibrant, colorful, and that is true also for the sound. So Gero, our sound director, is with us for many years and did all the sound effects and the soundtrack for Galaxy on Fire. Um, every sound you've seen, you heard in the pre-alpha is handmade by him. So nothing is out of the box. Everything is done by him
Oh
in-house, and
wow.
it's with Dolby Surround 5.1. So it's kind of hard to send him home and say, well, it's enough. Okay, take a rest, and he's all over it. And yeah, it's sound is really important for us. It always has been, and we will even have voice acting there. So we take sound very serious, and we think it really adds to the experience as much as sound does if you watch a movie. So first, sound is super important, and we make sure it really fits the game. It fits the whole setting. So expect a lot here. Very multi-layered, high definition sound in any aspect.
Does Oculus Rift and other VR devices present a challenge when it comes to that sound design?
Um, it's less the sound, it's more the graphics because if you go VR, you have two screens at HD resolution, and of course you want to have a
Mhm.
high frame rate, so you have to tone down the graphics. Sound is not so much an issue because we're working with 3D sound anyway.
All right. So yeah, somebody just asked in chat about chat is they have a whole bunch of questions already.
Oh, yeah, okay, go ahead.
I've already dominated your time for about 30 minutes, so I guess now would be the time for chat to weigh in with their questions if they want to, and I can go ahead and grab a few.
Yeah.
Let's see. Some people already posted some. So Vapor DK, this is what I'm interested in, and I saw it as a stretch goal. Vapor DK asks, "Are you going to have full HOTAS support?" And I do remember seeing that video. Someone had a warthog sitting on their desk.
Yes. Yeah. So we will release an update today on the Kickstarter campaign and showing some good news regarding gamepad controls. I don't want to unveil too much at this point. So, but you can tell that as we updated the stretch goals, there is full HOTAS support as a stretch goal. So there will be a sort of gamepad control included on day one. So if we reach the funding goal, there will be some gamepad controls in there. And HOTAS again, um, the reason why we have HOTAS as a separate stretch goal is we have to write a plugin for Unreal. So it's not that Unreal supports it automatically.
Mm-hmm.
And most work goes into the navigation in the menu. So while flying in space and the combat is fairly easy to achieve, I mean, we've done that a lot. We've done that with Galaxy Fire. So that's not something that we're concerned about. It's really the whole menu flow. If you want to make the game 100% operatable
Mm-hmm.
with gamepad or HOTAS, that's where the work goes in. And yeah, that is something why we have it still as a stretch goal.
I'm very excited for that stretch goal, and I need everybody here to back so that we can hit that stretch goal.
Yeah,
Because
that
it
would be
just
great.
it's such a wonderful experience getting to play with a joystick
Mm.
in these games, especially with one as immersive as this looks like it's going to be. You put
Yeah.
on an Oculus Rift and get a joystick, and I'm sure it's just going to be fantastic. What other questions do people have in chat? Usul asks, "Does everybody have the same spaceship, or are there different types?" There are right now
Hmm.
planned one for sure, possibly
Yeah.
three different
Yeah.
kinds.
Yeah.
What are
So,
those other ships?
I mean, now we have a sort of a fighter class, and it hasn't been decided yet, but we're thinking of adding a gunship. Obviously, that's slower, heavier, more armor, more firepower, and more cargo space. And then on the lower side, we're thinking of something more like a scout class that's very fast, but low armor and long range weapons. Yeah, so that would give it a balance and obviously a different gameplay style. So we're not just looking for different looks. Again, that's something we learned from Galaxy 5. We want to make sure if we add more ships, they play in a different way.
Yeah, I'll be very excited to see those. I'm sure you're going to get there. The kick track is just going off the charts, and typically it seems like the end of the Kickstarters is when things really pick up, and you've
Yeah.
been going right from the beginning. Um, how has that been?
Um, it's yeah, good question. It's awesome, and yeah, we were positive about our first spike because we were hoping that we can reactivate our Galaxy fan base, and that's something I think we achieved. But definitely those GIFs on Imager. I mean, the first one did 1.5 million views, the second one again,
Yeah.
and that's where our spikes come from. The spike from like 2 days ago, that's from Imager.
Wow. I didn't even
Yeah.
realize I could drive traffic that well. That's
Yeah,
pretty
we were
incredible.
surprised as well. And I was sitting at the office when that came in and when it took off. So there was like late in the night. And I think I had like sometimes 10 replies or messages within a minute. And I just made sure I answer everything right away. And literally, you could see how people say, "Well, thanks, A, thanks for being here," answering it immediately. And I just pledged and kickstarted the same went up. So being on Imager and being there and also being on Reddit, I think that helped the most in our campaign next to our initial kickoff that we had, or our initial spike.
Space sim fans seem to be extremely passionate. It's a
Oh
very
yeah,
strange
oh yeah,
community on
yeah,
on in gaming.
yeah, yeah, right.
So people are asking if there's going to be any stretch goals for multiplayer support or any sort of co-op with your friends.
Yeah. I mean, we get that asked a lot as well. And the reason why we went for single player are two. First, we know there are great multiplayer space games out there already,
Mhm.
so it doesn't make sense to go head to head against them. Water. Mm. And the second is the project that we did last year. That was something that was fairly similar, and we did multiplayer, and it worked well. So we had co-op there. It was everything cool, but it takes twice, if not three times as long for a feature to implement it and make it rock solid with multiplayer as if you just do it as single player. And
Oh wow.
if we had multiplayer from the very beginning, our budget, I don't know. I think we would have asked for 500 at least, maybe 750 to start with. And I mean, we're not one of those super game veterans that get funded like 1 million for their funding goal easily. And so we said, okay, take it easy. We make a single player game first. And also we believe there is a demand in single player games because so many games are right now focusing on multiplayer. It's a publisher demand in many cases. So we saw a chance here and an opportunity. And the feedback that we got, in particular, to get 2 days ago on Imager, people said, so what's the difference from Everspace to Star Citizen and Elite Dangerous? And then we said, yeah, it's a single player roguelike. And they said, single player, you should have said that much clearer in your campaign. Now I'm backing it. Now I love that. And we had like, I don't know, 50 guys coming in simply because it's a single player game. And then we also changed that on our campaign, said it's a single player roguelike space shooter. Yeah, obviously we didn't make that clear enough in the beginning. Long story short, we could do multiplayer, but this is really further down the road. We have to see how the campaign goes, and if there's enough demand, we will have a multiplayer stretch goal. And we also have some cool ideas to do that co-op. But PvP would be something we rather stay away because PvP in space is a challenge because you don't have anything that you. It's like you have a dogfight, people fly at each other, and it's pretty much who has the long distance weapon wins.
Mhm.
So we rather think about co-op, have nicer rewards if you fly together. But I mean, if we get there, that's 7 digits easily, and I don't know if we get there. Maybe we do. I don't know.
Yeah, I would imagine balancing alone or attempting to balance because that's always an ongoing process.
Yeah.
It is probably just a giant headache and can of worms that you're not eager to open at this stage.
It is.
That's Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of multiplayer space games. You were right, and from time to time, I don't like people, and I don't want to have anything to do with people, so I just want to play a game
Yeah,
by myself and relax. And I
true.
can
Uh,
totally understand.
yeah, and I have to say it's also that coming from mobile, people loved Galaxy and Fire because it was
Mhm.
no free-to-play game, and it was not a game that you needed to be online, so you could play it on the plane. And that is something with Everspace that we also wanted. You purchase it, you download it, and that's it. You don't need any connection. You can play it anywhere, anytime, as long as you can take your notebook or your computer with you, and make this so accessible. And that is something we want to have in Everspace.
And that is becoming such a rarity these days with games that have to be
I
connected
know.
to the internet in order to play them.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes if you go for rarities, you have a selling point there. And
Hmm.
of course, at the end of the day, the Backstarter Kickstarter is nice, but still we need to sell that game. Once we're done with the game, we still need to sell copies, and then we have to distinguish ourselves from the rest of the crowd.
Yeah. So how have you found that transition from mobile gaming to PC gaming?
Um, it's very rewarding. I mean, with mobile, when we started 10 years ago, the first version of Galaxy Fire, there was 350 kilobytes a Java game, and the screen size was just 128 by 128 pixels. You just had the numpad of your feature phone, and that's how we started. And
Hmm.
now with the power of a gaming PC, man, the graphics is you constantly adding effects and polygons and textures, and you're still running at 60 frames. We're like, what? And in combination with Unreal, I mean, back then we had to use our own tech because there didn't exist any technology that you could do 3D mobile games on a mobile device. And now with Unreal, everything is so super fast. I mean, I'm not a coder myself. I could do blueprints and stuff. I
Hmm.
mean, probably the team says, well, you better not. Um, but yeah, it's a blast. And we also have digital distribution. That is something we know for mobile. So that is something we like a lot, like Steam. And fingers crossed, we can also release on GOG. Obviously, we talked to the guys. They like the game. They saw it. But still, it takes an approval from their side. But things are looking good so far. And also on consoles, you can distribute your games digitally. We don't need to have a physical DVD in at the retailer, and that makes it a game really expensive, physical distribution. So that's fantastic, and something that we know from mobile as well. You can interact with your community, and if they want something, the fans, you just run an update, download the stuff, and bang, it's there. That's
Hmm.
fantastic. And physical, yes, of course, you can do your patches, but digital distribution is so much better.
Yeah, there's a lot of space gamers already who are pretty familiar, I think, with GOG because they have lots of classic space games like the old X-Wing
Hmm.
series. They have the old Wing Commander series.
Yeah.
They just have all sorts of fun things to go back and play. So there's definitely good overlap there. And I imagine it would also be pretty fun for you guys to be limited from the mobile perspective and then suddenly come in and be able to add all these cool effects and just keep adding
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. I mean, it was a huge jump from feature phones with software rendering going to the
Hmm.
iPhone with a GPU the first time.
Yeah.
And I mean, the last version we did Galaxy Fire 2 HD on the iPhone 5. That looked already so much like a console game. But now we can do that. We can have console graphics. We can even have PC graphics, which are so much better. We can do VR. It's yeah, so it's super fantastic. Of course, some of our fans said, "Well, don't let us down with the mobile version. We like to have Everspace on mobile." So of course, we also have a stretch goal for mobile, but we're gonna do PC first, and this is first because we get to get a better game experience. But second, it is Steam and GOG, but also consoles are still a market where you can have the premium model work. Like you pay for a game once and then you can play forever. Whereas the mobile market changed almost completely into a free-to-play market, and it makes it very hard, in particular for games that we do that are fairly expensive in production and are single player, and there's no monetization in there. We don't want to do free-to-play games, and we know it works for a lot of other games, but for the kind of games that we do, it does not work, and we think there is still an audience. Problem is, on mobile, you don't earn enough money. So mobile as a stretch goal, fine, But initially, we have to and we want to go PC and without any compromises.
So Geek Stanton asks, for a completely different train of thought,
Okay.
first person and third person, are you able to play the entire game in first person or third person if you wanted
Yes.
to? Do you need to switch between these?
Anytime. It's your call.
Fantastic. So, I mean, the cockpits look absolutely beautiful. So you can effectively play the whole game in first person if you wanted to.
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Let me check chat real quick. And I also had that video that you sent me of some footage, some gameplay footage from Everspace that hasn't been shown yet.
Yeah, brand new, just for you.
Just for me. Thank you very much.
No kidding.
Let's see, how long was that?
10 minutes.
10 minutes? Okay, yeah. We'll go ahead and play this towards the end. In the meantime, chat, if you have any more questions, now would be the time. A lot of people saying that they love the concept. A lot of people saying that they have backed. Good.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Yeah. That's perfect. Yeah, we gave you that footage also to show that the build is, I mean, it's a pre-alpha, but it's really solid. So it's just combat. So, and it's just one orbit. But you can see it's uncut. Nothing has changed. It's not even color graded or something in post. So it's really, this is how the game looks like. And you can see for 10 minutes, the guys are playing and the AI works, the physics works. So that shows how solid the build is already. And it gives you a sense how Dogfight looks in Everspace. And I would say even watching it for 10 minutes, it's fun. And it's a brand new orbit. So it's not even new footage. It's also a new location. It's something that we haven't shown at all.
Oh, I'm excited now. I'm very excited to show this. So last minute questions here before we let go. And thank you again for joining us. It's been absolutely wonderful to have you here.
My pleasure.
The Real Schiller asks, could there be anything like a carrier type class? I imagine that would be pretty large, but drones for your ships that you could use for different things.
What should I say? Let me think. Good call. Wait until next week.
Okay.
If that is enough.
No, you got to keep people on their edge. Jem Whistler asks, will it run on a non-high-end gaming PC?
Yes. Since we come from mobile, we know we need to hit devices or hardware configurations that are not super powerful, and we even target DirectX 10. We updated the FAQs. So if you go to the Kickstarter campaign, scroll down, you found FAQs. There are the minimum specs, and I think it's 4 GB RAM. DX10, mouse and keyboard, obviously, dual core CPU, and that's it. Obviously 1 GB VRAM. I'm pretty sure that's what we have there.
That sounds good. Yeah, I think a lot of people will appreciate that you cater to those systems as well, because it's difficult. I know from experience, when you don't have a top of the line gaming rig and something comes out that's just so amazing, but it's not necessarily optimized for your system.
Yeah. But seriously, if you come from mobile, I don't know. We supported more than 1,000 devices with lots of different screens, and like the factor from like the slowest device to the fastest device that we supported with the same game, in particular with Galaxy Fire, was easily a factor of 100. And of course, you have to turn down the graphics, have different sets of meshes, LODs, and textures, and effects and such. But I mean, that was our life for 10 years, so we're used to that.
All right, last minute questions. Alpha, when is the alpha going to be due? When can I play?
when can you play? March 2016 is also in our FAQ. The alpha is scheduled for March, and the beta is scheduled for July.
Awesome. Your favorite game at the moment?
You got me there. Shadow of Mordor, I played it. I got better. Witcher 3 is on my desk, still unwrapped because I don't have the time because of Kickstarter. But Witcher 3 would be the next title I play when we survive Kickstarter.
I mean, that's exciting to hear because these are very story-rich games.
Yes,
And
and
I
yeah, we
I
love
love
it. We
that.
love story. Yeah, it's I was at a talk at Nordic this year together with Uwe, our creative director, and I forgot the name, the lady from Disney, and she said it's like these days, if you asked players what's the most important thing, it's like by the vast majority says it's story and experience. And that is something that's hard to tell in a roguelike, and we accepted the challenge. We think it's an opportunity, and I think that this will be exciting how we have the story in a roguelike.
That's music to my ears. All right, last question. Is we talked very briefly about VR support. What
Mhm.
about something like Track IR, if you have heard of that?
Yes, we met the guys from Leap Motion at E3 this year,
Mhm.
and really nice guys. And say, hey, wouldn't it be cool to have that in Everspace? We're looking at their tech, um, and I mean, it doesn't make sense to have that while you're in combat. But things that we envision is like if you configure your ship, if you're at the carrier and you want to add a new an engine or weapons or such, you will have this like when in Minority Report when what's his name again? Damn. Tom Cruise, thank you. Christian, my partner's his name. Sometimes. So he's like you have that like this. He's juggling with the screens and stuff. So imagine you have your ship, and you have with Leap Motion control, you control your ship, spin it, and point
Oh
on
wow.
things and encrypt it. That's something we would like to have. We're still playing around with the tech, but we think that would be awesome.
That would be very, very awesome. So I hope you guys are able to go
Tom
that route.
Cruise. I did,
Um,
yeah. Okay.
all right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and play the video. There are some other questions from chat, but we are running out of time. So I just want
I'm
to
still
say,
here. Up to you.
Michael. Oh,
Yeah.
you want to do one more?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So let's just do this last one. Are there going to be multiple or customizable avatars and pilots?
Um, how do I answer that? Um, the the character that you are playing is always the same,
Hmm.
but you're gonna meet other people very similar to you. Okay, I don't want to spoil too much. So it's not like in an RPG or something. You can set up your character. You will
Uh,
be always the same character, but you won't be alone, and you have to deal with the fact that there are more people very similar to you. Dot dot dot.
well, that's a good way. That's a good way to leave it then.
Yeah.
Michael, thank you so very, very much for
All right.
joining us and
Pleasure.
for allowing me to do this. I am backer 121
Okay.
of
Yeah.
the
Awesome.
game.
Saw you.
So
Yeah. Very early. Yeah. Thanks for that.
yeah, I'm very, 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 very excited. So thank you
Okay.
very much. Thank you, chat again for tuning in, and I will hopefully talk to you again when the game is further along.
Yeah. Sure. Up to. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Matt, and thanks everybody for watching. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye. All right, let's go ahead and play that video. This will be the end of the interview. Thanks, guys.